Hey, good afternoon, Simple Plan community and friends and fans. It's great to be with you today. We're on the road, so you'll notice a bit of a different background and not quite so much lighting. But wanted to go live with you again and talk to you about what you can do to finish 2021 well and get a strong foundation for 2022. I'm Brad Macbeth. I'm an advisor and really happy to be with you today. I wanted to invite you. Today's event is sponsored by the Simple Plan community. We're inviting you to join with us on the Simple Plan community. That's at facebook.com/groups/Simple Plan community. And there you're going to find all manner of tips, advice, support, encouragement, and a community to walk together with as you work on building your best financial life and make the most of what you're being blessed with. So today we're going to talk about how you can finish 2021 well and set a strong foundation for next year. For me, this time of year, mid-November, I start really looking toward 2022 for a lot of planning that I do. I take a lot of inventory of what my goals were. And by the way, having written goals, this is a bonus tip because we're going to go with 3 key tips, but this is a bonus tip. Having written goals is absolutely key to doing well at anything. You write those goals down, you review them regularly, and you just continue to work toward them. And you'll be amazed over time at how much progress you make. Even as you're slogging day after day after day and feeling like, oh, I'm not making any progress on this, over the days, weeks, months, and even a year, as those small efforts add up and compound, what you find is that things really take off. That when you take stock and look back, you'll see that things really have been building, even though at times it felt like you were just wading hip deep through very thick mud. So for finishing 2021 well, the first thing we want to do is take stock. Where have we been? How has it been going? Did we have goals this year? Have we made progress? For many of us, we made some resolutions perhaps in January. That's a very popular thing, and they just kind of fell by the wayside, drifted away, and didn't really amount to what we were hoping. And so we may feel disappointment and we may feel like we failed, but you know what? There really is no such thing as failure. There's just learning and persevering as we continue forward on the momentum that we want to get to where we want to go. And having those goals is key in being able to see where it is we want to go. We'll stumble along the way. We can look back and say, well, gosh, this year really didn't quite go the way I wanted. I didn't achieve this target, that target. Don't worry about that. Just take a look at your goals, refocus on them, ask yourself, are these still my goals? And then get back on track to finish this year well, to take the steps you can still take in the next 6 weeks. And so one of those key steps for finishing the year well is plan what you're going to do through the holiday period with your money. It's so tempting to spend lots of money, money that we don't necessarily have, to get through those holidays. We think that it becomes so much about what we want to give. We love people, we want to share with them, but we really need to be good stewards of our resources. And so have a plan, have a budget in mind for what's affordable. Don't go into debt for Christmas. There's no need for that. That's not what Christmas is about at all. For our family, my wife and I have kind of been, I guess, maybe struggling a little bit, trying to figure out how can we make Christmas more about what really matters and not be so focused on the gift giving, right? We want to give gifts. We love to give gifts. But what we really want is to just be together with the people that we know and love. And so I just really want to encourage you, don't set your heart on the notion that I have to spend a bunch of money, I have to give big things in order to make Christmas important. That's not the case at all. You really need to refocus on what Christmas is actually about and what's at the heart of Christmas. So I really want to encourage you, do set a budget, do stick to it, because it's the people that you're going to be with that are really going to make the Christmas season matter, not the stuff that gets exchanged back and forth. So that's one key tip. Um, the next, and this really ties in, I said, don't take on any debt for Christmas. Just, you want to get rid of debt. Now, if you've got a significant amount of debt, you're not going to get rid of your debt by the end of 2021. But you can start today to make a plan and get rid of that debt that's weighing you down so much. So I want to encourage you to get rid of that debt, work on it, and have a plan. We're not going to go into detail today about how you can do that. We have lots of stuff that we've made available to people in the past. If you want some information on how to get out of debt, just message me directly. We'll send something out to you. But you want to focus on getting rid of debt. And the first major step in getting rid of debt is don't take on any more. You know that old adage, right? When you find yourself in a hole, the first step is to stop digging. So you need to stop digging, and then you need to start making a plan to get out of debt. And depending where you're at, that might take a year, might take 18 months, might even take 2 years. But believe me, when you've taken that step, it transforms your finances, it transforms your mindset, and transforms your heart, because you don't feel this pull of debt just kind of got its claws into you, right? The Bible says that the borrower is slave to the lender, and I think that's how we all feel when we're really in debt, is that we are slaves to this thing, and we're having to work in order to make our payments, right? Which means I'm no longer working for myself. I'm going to work for Visa or for any other type of organization that we're indebted to. So get rid of debt. Make that plan. Get rid of debt. All right. The next thing that we want to do is make, review, and follow a plan. You remember a couple of weeks ago when we were live, we talked about planning, and I'm not going to go over it all again, but we talked about the why of having a plan as well as what a plan is. So why have a plan? Well, because people who receive financial advice accumulate more financial wealth, are better protected, and are better prepared for retirement and unexpected events than people who don't receive advice. So get advice. Get some help making a plan. Now, there's all sorts of tools out there. So if you feel that you can make your own plan, then by all means go ahead and do it. But I would really encourage you to get advice on putting a plan together, because a plan is going to start with laying the foundation by managing your cash flow. We've talked about that here before. You can find that information in past episodes. And having a financial security plan so that when these unexpected events come along, your finances are not thrown completely off kilter. And I think we've all learned pretty well over the last 20 months or so that there can be an awful lot of unexpected events, and some of them can be very big. And so now we know that we want to have things prepared for when things are not going according to plan because of events that are beyond our control. So you want to build that plan. Now, what does a plan look like? Well, we looked at this definition of a comprehensive financial plan. A comprehensive financial plan addresses financial and personal goals that you have. So it's an ongoing approach to managing all areas of your financial life, such as your income, expenses, your investments and debt, your short-term and long-term goals, such as paying for college or retiring comfortably, or even making big purchases like homes, cars, and big travel. All of it seeks to optimize what's happening with taxes. All of us want to pay the necessary, our fair share of tax, but we want to pay as little as is necessary. We don't want to overpay taxes. So there's many plans you can make to help you reduce what you're having to pay in taxes. And it manages financial risks such as disability and death, and plans to leave a legacy. All right, so that's what a plan looks like. And off the top of your head, most of us don't know how to make a plan, but there's lots of advice available out there. And we put together plans for whether it's for long-term financial goals, like retirement is a big one. The number one financial fear people have is running out of money in retirement, for example. When you put together a plan, you can rest assured that you're not going to run out of money in retirement. And that's a great relief. And you also put together a plan for what to do for those unexpected events. It's called a financial security plan. So you take all your core financial plans and then you wrap them kind of with this safety blanket so that nothing can get in from the outside to undermine and demolish your core financial plans. And then finally, I want to talk just for a few minutes about gratitude. We're going through so much turbulence in our world these days. It's not that it hasn't happened before. It has. There's been terrible turbulence in the world. Even apart from major wars, there's been terrible turbulence and disagreements in our society. But it's disturbing and it's wearing. And so the antidote to that is not kind of arguing into it even more with people, trying to convince others of what's going on. The antidote to that is to not get dragged into it, to not be arguing with others, to not be complaining about things, but instead to foster an attitude of gratitude. And that can sound trite, but here's the truth. We live in the most prosperous society that has ever lived on planet Earth throughout history. As a mass, Canadians and Americans and Western Europeans and some other countries are better off than kings and queens were in past times. And we take so much for granted. And I want you to just think about, I've been reflecting so much recently when I go and do basic and mundane things. I pause and I ask myself, what is this? What is this thing here and that I am taking so much for granted? So for example, when I go and can turn on the tap and water comes out, there is so much behind that. There's a municipal plumbing system. There's a building that I'm living in that's well put together. There's a municipal water system that's cleaning the water. And I'm getting the benefit of that. And I'm enjoying it. Now it just seems mundane. Oh, so what? I turn on the tap, water comes out. Well, how do I kind of get after that in terms of having some gratitude? Well, I think about how others have lived that I know. My parents, for example, grew up in times when they didn't have running water in the house. Well, what does that mean? Well, not having running water would mean that you are running out to get water constantly. And in Canada, a lot of it can be pretty cold, and so that can be pretty challenging in some parts of the country. So don't take running water for granted. Don't take a flush toilet for granted. Don't take a hot shower for granted. These are luxuries to the mass of the world, probably to more than 50% of the world. These would be luxuries, and we take them for granted. We, for the most part, live in comfortable homes. We have heat. We may have cooling if we need it. We're sheltered from the weather. We're sheltered from storms that come. And it's so easy to take these things for granted or to feel burdened by what we need to do to maintain that, the going to work, the taking care of things and all that. But if we have that gratitude, if we have that perspective, then we can really see how blessed we truly are. And that transforms our thinking about all of this. And so I really want to encourage you to have gratitude. One of the things that Heather and I do is we watch some old TV shows. Most of you would probably consider them hokey, but things like The Waltons or Little House on the Prairie or what have you. And one of the things that's really interesting to me is to look at the way of life that they had. More recently, you could watch Downton Abbey. It's another one of the really interesting underlying themes in that show is the progress of technology, really is what it is. It starts on the day that the Titanic sinks. And by the time the television series ended, it was the late 1920s. And so you see these many, many advents come along, like running water, indoor plumbing, electricity, electrification, the telephone, radio, all these things. And you start to get some perspective both on how transformative they were in our society. And this isn't that long ago. This is less than 100 years ago. And that's what's taken place. We are not far removed from people living in much more challenging conditions. If you want something a little more intense, I would suggest seek out a show called World War II in color. They've colorized a lot of film that was taken. There's masses of film from World War II, and you just watch what was going on in some of that, and it's terrifying to think about what people were going through. So we are a very blessed people, and gratitude is the appropriate response. The beautiful thing about gratitude is it brings life to us. It makes us feel that things are good and that things can be better, and it gives us the energy to press forward in those things. Whereas ingratitude and disappointment and envy are all things that just kind of devour us. And they pull us into this cycle where we try to make ourselves feel better, and a lot of times people try to make themselves feel better by spending money. And because we're bombarded with messages daily about buy this, you'll feel better, you'll look better, you'll be better, people will love you more, and all that stuff. It's all nonsense. None of it's true. That's all just being said to get you to buy this stuff. Now, I'm not against buying stuff. I love our capitalist economy. But buy it mindfully and buy it wisely. So there you go. There's 3 key steps that you can take to finish off this year well and lay a great foundation for 2022. We're going to get into, in the coming weeks, some very practical steps in how to prepare yourself for a very strong 2022 financially. But these 3 things are core and powerful key steps that you can take to lay a very strong foundation for this next year. So I really want to encourage you, make a plan, make a small plan for Christmas, and don't go into debt. Make a bigger plan for your overall finances, and just walk with some gratitude. And so I'm going to share with you a few links that can help you with all of that stuff. The first is for our personal financial management tutorial. Let me just put that up there for you so you can see it. All right. Put that back up again. All right, so you can go to bit.ly/worksheet tutorial, and that's going to give you some powerful tools to manage your day-to-day finances. So if you need to get rid of debt, this is going to give you the tools that you need to manage your money so that you can get going on getting rid of debt. All right, we've got another one for you. Which is you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter. We've recently relaunched that. It's going to go out today, very shortly, for this week. And so you can go to go.getthesimpleplan.com/subscribe. That's go.getthesimpleplan.com/subscribe. Just give us your email address and we are going to add you to that weekly list. You're going to get tips every week. You're going to get links to each week's live. You're going to hear about members of our community, the Simple Plan community, and lots of helpful stuff in there that's going to help you do the best you can with your finances. So I really encourage you in both of those. The newsletter is also going to keep you abreast of everything that we're putting out. We are redoubling our efforts to put out for you tools and tutorials and helpful tips on how you can manage your personal finances in many ways. So that's the wrap for the week. I want to thank you very much for being with us this week. We'll be back again next Friday at our regular broadcast time. Our live broadcast is every Friday at 2 p.m. And I want to invite you one last time. Join the Simple Plan community. It's at facebook.com/groups/Simple Plan community. That's where you're going to be able to keep track of everything that's going on that we do to help you make the most of your finances. So thanks very much. Thank you for joining us today, and we really appreciate your time. We want to make the most of it. We want to help you make the most of your finances, and I hope that you'll just go and spend some time reflecting this weekend with gratitude on the things that you've got in your life that you're grateful for. All the best. Have a great weekend. Take care.